Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much, and congratulations, Yaz. Very impressive what you've been doing out there, and I think what you've achieved with all of your efforts is quite astounding. So congratulations. It was a very inspiring discussion that you presented to us. As Christine mentioned, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, excuse my voice, a little bit of a cold, about realising Bingo Industries' vision for pushing for a waste-free Australia. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bingo, then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the assets which we're actually developing across our portfolio, both from a fully recycling ecology perspective and some new facilities down in New South Wales as well. So just very briefly about Bingo, here we are, one of Australia's fastest growing and largest recycling and waste management companies. We operate right across the value chain from collections, processing, separating, sorting, recycling, and into manufactured recycled product as well. Obviously, we've also picked up Dial-A-Dump, and we're developing Patons Lane, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. We operate in two key sectors currently, building and demolition waste. So that is the largest portion of the waste which we actually collect and process and recycle. And there's also commercial and industrial as well, and that services a lot of the industrial businesses, but also individual sites, governments and education facilities. For instance, we do a lot of work with McDonald's, for instance, collecting a lot of their commercial and industrial waste. A range and variety of services which Bingo actually provides: commercial waste, liquid waste, skip bins, recycling centres. We do collect and process contaminated soils. Toro Waste Equipment is an interesting, we have a business which actually manufactures and repairs waste skip bins and compactors. So that's another part of our business. That's both for Bingo and also for third parties as well. From a driving a circular economy perspective, these are some of the figures which we look at. Our focus is on maximising diversion of waste from landfill, and we have some of our sites are audited, independently audited, of around 77% recovery. Our Eastern Creek facility, which is as a result of the Dial-A-Dump acquisition, is recovering over 93% with some advanced recycling equipment out on that site. But what we're really targeting is at least a 75% recovery rate right across our portfolio. One of the key things which we have really pushed into hard and we are really focused on is the production of very high quality recycled products. And as you can see, we provide and produce a range of different aggregates, different sizes, sands and road bases, and a range of different mulch products as well from the material which we're receiving at our various transfer stations and recycling centres. What's the future for us? The real future, this is the jewel in our crown, the Recycling Ecology Park at Eastern Creek. We see this site as being really transforming the whole space of recycling in Greater Sydney and rolling this model out across Australia. What is our vision for the Eastern Creek Recycling Ecology Park? There's a whole range of different things, but really we see it as a centralised location where all waste streams can actually be delivered to, go through and be recycled, and then converted into new products that can be used back out into the market. So we are looking at, it currently accepts commercial and industrial and construction and demolition waste. We are looking at expanding those services as we expand the facility over the next few years into more organics, into more food waste, and into municipal solid waste as well. One of the key things, we want this site to be energy sufficient, energy independent. So a lot of the effort at the moment is going into looking at the energy use and the energy requirements across the site, how we can make every building and every part of this site as energy efficient as possible, and then utilising renewable energy sources so that it becomes 100% powered by renewable energy. Just a little bit more, in a bit more detail about what the Recycling Ecology Park is actually going to incorporate. The building on the down on the right-hand side is actually the existing processing centre, which is on site. We're currently about to commence construction on the building on the left, which is another recycling facility. We will have garden waste and soils. The crushing facility, which we have currently on site, will be relocated out to that back area there, and we obviously will expand our timber mulching facility. We also have a range of other functions that we'll be looking at on that site, but we do look that we will be investing at least $200 million over the next 5 years to really fully develop this site. Just a little bit about Bingo's network and where we've come from over the last couple of years. Back at the IPO of Bingo Industries a couple of years ago, there was 9 sites across New South Wales and Sydney, and that's rapidly expanded over the last couple of years. In late 2017, we entered into Victoria with some acquisitions down in Victoria. We picked up some small transfer stations. And then in 2018, we acquired a business down there which had a substantial asset in West Melbourne, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Right across, obviously, New South Wales, we have a very well-developed network now. The acquisition of Dial-A-Dump has actually brought a different level of scale to our business now, and that's made us reflect on our asset portfolio and look at how we can actually utilise that portfolio better and get more value out of it going forward. So a little bit about our network configuration in New South Wales and in particular Sydney. So there's a range. I think we had a number of different recycling centres spread around Sydney prior to the Dial-A-Dump acquisition. And now what we've done with the Dial-A-Dump acquisition is really reconfigured that portfolio. So what we see, a lot of our skip bins and skip bin services and recycling centres are moving out to Eastern Creek and Patons Lane. And I'll talk about Patons Lane very shortly. And you can see that a lot more around the metropolitan area, which is much more transfer stations now. And what the intent of this actual reconfiguration of our network will be is that we will do some basic sorting at each of the transfer stations where we can, and then once that's actually sorted, they will and then bulked up, we will bulk transport that out to both Eastern Creek and Patons Lane. And Patons Lane, Eastern Creek and Auburn will be our 3 main recycling centres. In Victoria, we recently reopened West Melbourne. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but we have quite a good concentration of recycling transfer stations down in the southeast to service that particular market. We have a small transfer station up in the north at Camberfield, and our flagship facility is located at West Melbourne, where we do all of our recycling at the moment. As our business is growing so rapidly in Victoria, we know that the West Melbourne facility will not have enough capacity from a recycling perspective to deal with the waste that we're actually collecting and accepting from external customers. So we will need to develop further recycling facilities in Victoria in due course. Very quickly, I'd like to talk about Patons Lane. Patons Lane is our newest facility, which is about to come online. It will be online from early July this year. We acquired this site from the previous owners in late 2017. It was an approved landfill, a very long and arduous approval that went through the Land and Environment Court, went through a number of different owners. We purchased the site in late 2017. The majority of the approvals were in place to start construction, which was one of the attractions for us buying Patons Lane, that we could actually activate that asset fairly quickly. After some design and finalising some contracts, we started just over 12 months ago. You can see on the top here, that was what it looked like at the start when we first started. That void where you can see all the water in the top left of the corner there, that held around about 400 megalitres of water. Give you a bit of context, that's about 160 Olympic-sized swimming pools of water. It evaporated a little bit, Lee. It was 450. That site, you can see in the bottom of that particular picture now, we've built the recycling centre, we've constructed all of the bund walls around the site, and the landfill is finalised. It's actually lining system now. So that's about 6 weeks away, and we'll be ready for business out there. In the future, there's a whole range of different things. Crushing and screening is approved out there for us to create recycled products from a lot of the construction materials. And we're also looking at wash plants and a range of different things out there as well. Just another quick overview of the cell development. So it's a 25-year asset. We can accept 4.3 million tonnes into the landfill. We expect that with our resource recovery rates, we'll be able to extend that a lot longer. But cell 1 is the first cell, and cell 2 and cell 3 still have to be developed over time. But we see this as a fantastic asset in our portfolio, and we're looking to do some pretty amazing things out there. Just very quickly on West Melbourne, this is our new one of the facilities which we just recently reopened. It's very well located next to the Melbourne CBD. We've got a very large, very high recovery rate there of 75%. We completely refit this building. We put the latest technology in this building from a fire protection perspective. Everyone knows about the fire-related issues that have been involved in the industry. We took the decision to actually put a very advanced fire protection facility into this particular building. You can see a couple of different before and afters. The building was pretty dilapidated when we first bought it. It was unsafe. We basically rebuilt the whole site, and now that's operating at full capacity. Where to from here? I've talked a little bit about where we currently operate. One of the things we see as part of our future and as part of our ongoing strategy is moving into energy from waste. And we see that there's a real opportunity for energy from waste in this country. This graph here demonstrates the different rates of landfill in different countries around the world. You can see Australia's around about the middle in terms of how much it landfills of its waste. You can see some European and Japanese countries way up to the left of the site there that have no landfill whatsoever. We believe that there is a real opportunity for us to move into that left-hand side of that graph and completely divert away from landfill. And we do believe that energy from waste is one particular way to achieve that objective. And we've had an ongoing investigation. We've had ongoing discussions from a policy perspective, from a project development perspective, from a financing perspective, all of the different elements that go into making one of these successful. We are very encouraged by the projects which have recently been awarded and commenced over in Western Australia. That we think that's a very good sign for the development of the energy from waste industry in Australia. We do see that from a policy perspective, Queensland and Victoria are probably more attractive from a policy perspective and getting a project approved from that perspective. However, the economics in Queensland and Victoria of the waste levies make it a little bit more challenging from a commercial perspective to make a project viable. New South Wales, much more challenging from a regulatory perspective to get planning approvals. We've obviously seen the next generation project at Eastern Creek not get through the planning process, but obviously the economics within New South Wales with the level of their levy is much more attractive from a commercial perspective. So we're looking at projects across all three of those markets. We're talking to a lot of different people. We are examining lots of different technologies. We're quite technology agnostic. We're not jumping on one particular technology and looking for the perfect answer. There are a range of solutions out there that suit the types of different waste streams that we're actually going to be dealing with in the future. So that's yeah, we're very excited. This is probably a key passion of mine in particular. So I'm really hoping that we move into this space in the next few years. That's it. That's it. So that was basically it that I wanted to talk about, and happy to take any questions on any of the presentations.